This is C.R.P.H.A, Humanitarian Advocate. Give me a second and I will tell you more here. I thought I'd do this so people can possibly hear what I'm saying a lot more clearly without any interruptions from anything else, even in the surrounding areas of outside. Um, this would be part two in the sense that with Nancy Pelosi and her crony Democratic politician lapdogs and minions. Um, in regards to the so-called coronavirus, the basic fact is that there's been many, shall we say, viruses or illnesses over the years, like what I heard from a neighbor friend of mine here. Known as the so-called Hong Kong flu, I guess, which I've never heard of. But also, there's also been other epidemics. But this one that we are currently facing and generally dealing with and fearful of is, to this advocate's aspect and whatnot, is that the or if you want to say also thought, but is that the fact that the Liberal Democrats are so fucking fearful of losing the 2020 election that they will go to sinful, inhuman levels and whatnot, to the points to where they will do something towards and against the American people in claiming an epidemic to being known as the coronavirus. Basically, when people know that we all have the sniffles from time to time, we all have the coughs and not really a full cold at all, but an occasional cough here and there, and an occasional sneeze, or if it becomes freezing ass cold, then we essentially our sinuses act up, right? But yet the Liberal Democrats have gone to the extent, including Nancy Pelosi, has gone to the extent to connect the Orient, known as China Japan area, pardon me, in the aspect of claiming that it was brought by them to us, and thereby, if that's an actuality, then the Liberal Democrats have orchestrated a a thing to where they will have it to where the American people believe such of a load of shit, in the sense that the only way that can be solved and cured is by the Liberal Democrats, not by the opposing party, being, of course, Trump's administration. The uh, the one thing is that unbeknownst to Nancy Pelosi and her cronies and minions and lapdogs, including one of her lapdogs being Schumer, uh, unbeknownst do they realize, by orchestrating such as a sinful thing, by orchestrating a something that they can easily doctor up and make it look so logical and true and all this other shit, when it's a load of shit. It's a way beyond a farce. So much so that they are still such in a panic of losing the 2020 election that they will come up with something like this and put it against the American people. And have the American people go in such a fucking fear and panic in such a way that they will be able to, shall we say, mind manipulate the American people to vote for their party. Therefore, Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and the other constituents within the Liberal Socialist Democratic Party have only 48 hours to admit the wrongdoing, or for they will go into the pits of hell when their life is done on this planet. For it is said that we know in accordance to the Bible, in accordance to this book, that there is going to be one thing that spreads across the whole entire globe. But this is not it. The coronavirus is not it. It's a political orchestrated fucking scare, if you want to still call it a pandemic, you may, but it's a fucking political scare done and orchestrated by the fucking liberal Democrats. The Democrats have done this to target and put it against the American people in such a way that they will manipulate their way into the White House. Mental manipulate their way into the White House. Nancy Pelosi knows this is an actuality. Chuck Schumer knows this is an actuality. They don't want you, American people, to believe that it's an actual, that that it's an actual virus, when really they essentially want you to believe it's a virus. Essentially, excuse my point. Okay, they want you to believe it's a virus. They don't want you to see their true meaning on that aspect. They don't want you to see that it is the fact that they are scared of losing the 2020 election, so much so that they will target you, American people. And they wonder, and and many politicians wonder why nobody trusts any politician. This is why. This particular bullshit, sinful action that done by the Democratic Party is why. And there's many other reasons to it, of course. Yes, we all know that. But the basic fact is, this is lower than low, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. This is the lowest of the low that any politician or any political constituent or party in general would go. I know there's even lower than this, but the basic fact is that Nancy Pelosi, you are going to go into the pits of hell. You and Chuck Schumer are going into the pits of hell for orchestrating such a fucking bullshit virus and scaring and putting it against the American people just so you can manipulate the American people to get into the White House. Nancy Pelosi, you have only 48 hours. And Chuck Schumer only has 48 hours. The rest of the politicians within the Democratic, Socialist Democratic, Liberal Party has only 48 hours to come clean and admit their bullshit. But luckily, so far, we may have one particular logical one, or it could be a liberal bullshit thing that the well-known and once trusted Gavin Newsom has put Trump in the positive and saying good work. It could mean in the sense of good work, not doing shit or hardly anything, or it could mean good work in the sense of acting upon something that can be more than deadly. But the one thing is, like I said, American people, to this advocate, and like I said on the first one, this would be part two when it comes to the coronavirus and the liberal Democratic dumbass party. This advocate has no doubt at current. No doubt that this pandemic, if you want to call it that, has been carefully orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of the Liberal Democratic Party. And I do mean the Socialist Liberal Democratic Party. And they've targeted you, American people. They don't realize that we know that people will on occasion get the sniffles, the coughs on occasion, but not to the full aspect of fear. Granted, it's in some cases it is known that if we are around people enough that we will eventually get it. Yes, but the one thing is they're using a particular strategy, such a sinful strategy at that, just so they can mentally manipulate you American people to get the Democratic Party into the White House. To where you American people favor them over the ones that have not divided this country and the ones that have not done anything but negative to this country. And the only ones that have done any division to the American people and this country are the Democratic Party. And this is a good example. The coronavirus is a good fucking example. They're dividing the country way more than ever. Even under the Trump administration's in the history books, it will be known in the history books that the Democratic Party have orchestrated a fucking farce. Way beyond a farce. In the sense of a pandemic. A phony, orchestrated, doctored up, bullshit pandemic. Under the administration of Trump. In the history books, it will be that. And it will be shown that the liberal Democrats did it in such a way that they were so fucking fearful of losing the 2020 election that they fucking targeted the fucking pandemic towards the American people just so they can mentally manipulate the American people to get the Democratic Party into the White House. That's the lowest of the low. That's the lowest of the low. That will put Nancy Pelosi and her cronies and Chuck Schumer and his constituents within the same socialist liberal democratic party, along with Gavin Newsom, obviously, into the pits of hell for committing such a fucking mortal spiritual sin. And targeting it towards innocent people such as the American people and our youth. Instead of realizing their defeat even in 2020 and accepting their defeat in 2020 because everybody knows that the fucking liberal Democrats ever since Obama has divided this fucking country and the American people, and they don't want to admit the fucking fact of that. They want people to believe that they could never do any wrong. And the only ones that can do wrong are the Republican, conservative, and regular party within the political genre. When basically it's been proven time and time and time again, even after Obama, that there hasn't been one aspect of division, 0% of division when it comes to the Trump administration, the Reagan administration, the Bush administration, the Bush Jr. administration. The only division that there's been is Obama, Carter, and various others within the Democratic Party. Not one aspect of division, except for maybe Nixon, has divided this country and the American people. in regards to the Republican, conservative Republican, and moderate Republican parties. The only division that has been shown and proven is within the Liberal Socialist Democratic Party. So Nancy Pelosi and her other constituents and cronies have only 48 hours to come clean, to announce to the American people that there is no coronavirus. It was a political orchestration and a more bigger than a fucking farce. If they do not, I will put forth after the 48 hours that the Supreme Court put them into the circle and completely convict every liberal Democratic idiot that's even associated with this bullshit in scaring the American people to the points of manipulation, mental manipulation, just so they can get into the fucking White House. Just so the Democratic idiots can get in the White House. And I put forth as a humanitarian advocate in defense and in support and favor and benefit for the American people that the Trump administration find carefully and without even notice from and by the Democratic Party to find any evidence to this, that the coronavirus was a political fucking orchestrated setup and targeted towards the American people, just so the liberal Democrats can have a way to get their party into the White House. Just so the Democratic idiots can get into the White House by mentally manipulating the American people in such a way by creating an orchestration, a sinful action known to Heavenly Father himself as a very, very sinful aspect to where be that, of course, Nancy Pelosi and her constituents, including Chuck Schumer, will without a doubt go into the pits of hell. It is better for the American people to know this, that it is a orchestrated political bullshit set up by the Liberal Democratic Party, the Socialist Liberal Democratic Party, that the coronavirus has been so-called created. Just so they can mentally manipulate you, American people, into believing such of a bullshit. We can still sneeze and cough, but therefore we're not going to affect anybody. As long as we do this type of thing, right? It's not going to affect anybody. And even people, I know people still cough and sneeze without covering their mouth. Yeah, I get that. But I've been around people who cough and sneeze with not covering their mouth, and I'm still okay. There hasn't been one indication of it over the fucking course of this year and last year and the years before. So the fucking bullshit of the Democratic Party is going to be put to an end. So Nancy Pelosi, this is not a threat. You better fucking wise up and realize that you cannot fucking put a pandemic, a fucking phony ass pandemic, a sinful action orchestrated by your party, started by you, of course, Nancy Pelosi, I know, and Chuck Schumer, by putting together a fucking bullshit virus and trying to connect China, Japan, what have you, in connection to it, just so you and your party can get into the White House. Just so you and your party can manipulate the fucking way through to the White House. You are committing a deep, mortal, spiritual sin, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. You are not a very caring human being. And if you don't like this country, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, get the fuck out. We're not stopping you. But while you're in the fucking political party, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, you will fucking admit to your bullshit, or get the fuck out by stepping down now. You have 48 hours to fucking come forward and come clean. You may call this a joke, I don't care, but I'm telling you straight out. I will put forth that the Supreme Court, and I will put forth that the Trump administration will definitely find who set up this bullshit in targeting the American people, just so they can mentally manipulate the American people. And here's the way they would be able to do it. Everybody's in fear of the coronavirus. We all get that already, right? The only way that they would make it to where there's a cure for it is if we American people vote the idiot liberal Democrats into office so they can divide this country even more and turn this country socialist and take away our rights and freedoms and rip up the current constitution that our forefathers put together and put into fruition. And therefore, the Democratic Party would be able to rewrite their fucking own constitution that they agree. And I've mentioned that part of it before. I know. But that's the way they would mentally manipulate you American people. So therefore, there's no coronavirus. If there was, I'd be affected. And I've been out even in the beginning stages of the damn shit. If you watch one of my other videos of Logical MGTOW, you will see me wearing a hat, my jacket, which is, I put it over here, which I usually have right here. And you'll see me in my shades, and I'm out walking around. I walked around by people. I've been on the fucking light rail, around people, and not one indication. Not one fucking indication. I've been around many people, even when I was going over to visit my own mother. Even then, and it was within the coronavirus situation as well, the so-called coronavirus. Not one indication. I'd be able to go to my own primary physician, and I can guarantee you, clean as a whistle. So therefore, with the particular studies and findings, it's all politically orchestrated by the Liberal Democrats. It is all politically orchestrated by the Democrats by claiming lives lost when they could easily be alive and well in reality. I've talked to my neighbor here. He has a very close conclusion to the same thing I do. And he even said, "So you believe this is the coronavirus is politically orchestrated?" I'm like, "Yeah, oh hell yeah! It's just so they can get into the fucking White House, a mental manipulative way." So with all of that, and there might be more. This is only part 2 of it. Now, on the first one, I said a whole mixture of different things. I know. But this is part 2. So, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of the Liberal Socialist dumbass Democrats, the sinful political party within this country. You still have 48 hours to come clean and admit your bullshit and admit that there is no coronavirus and admit it was all orchestrated by your party or by you alone, Nancy Pelosi. Because even, as I said, you've even got my own mother worried, and I don't like that. You've even got people worried about their children when it comes to when it comes to their education. Now our youth has a lack of education because of your bullshit, Nancy Pelosi. You're orchestrating bullshit of the coronavirus when it's not a virus at all. It's a political setup targeted towards the American people just so the Democratic Party can slither their way in to the fucking White House. That's sinful in accordance to the Bible, and in accordance to Heavenly Father himself, and in accordance to that cross up there. You can see it. There's a cross hanging right by that thing. And also Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, you're disgracing Old Glory by bullshitting the American people. You're disgracing the very positions that you hold, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of your cronies and lapdogs within the Democratic Party. You're disgracing this country in 100% factual base. By targeting the American people, your own people that you're supposed to defend and protect and keep safe while you're in the seat of the political seats that you have and were voted into by the people themselves. You're disgracing the very aspect and reason why we trusted you in those seats that you hold right now. We can easily have you taken out by Supreme Court and by constitutional actions. So Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of your liberal, socialist, democratic idiots within the Democratic Party, you have 48 hours to come clean and admit it was a political farce, a political ploy. There's no coronavirus. Or the Supreme Court will be added into it without question. And they will find the ones who are responsible for orchestrating such of a bullshit action against and towards the American people. Just so that liberal Democrats can get into the White House by mental manipulation, which is a sin, even in accordance to the Bible. I am a very strong spiritual person, and I am a very strong advocate for the people of the United States of America. And I know, and I've really, really I thought this through. I seriously fucking thought this through. Even as I was doing something for a different video, I really thought this through. Even as when I was talking to my own mother, and even before I started talking to my neighbor here. I thought this through. And it becomes more and more and more and more obvious that it is a political ploy, a political farce set up by the Liberal Democratic Party just so the Liberal Democratic Party can mentally manipulate their way into the White House. By mental manipulating the American people in believing something that's a load of shit, coming up with, and by gradually coming up with certain cases of deaths when those same people are still alive and well, by making the American people, even by the liberal media alone as well, by making the American people believe that there's deaths due to the coronavirus. That or NBA stars have contracted the coronavirus by any means made up by politically paid physicians paid by the Liberal Democratic Party. That's the base of mental manipulation, American people. They will do anything that they're fearful. The Liberal Democrats are fearful of losing the 2020 election instead of accepting the fucking fact that we American people deserve to have the 100% protection by Donald J. Trump one and 100% strong and stable economy, no socialism, no concentration camps in the sense of the Hitler regime, which is based of socialism, the Constitution and separation from the American people and the government, in which the reason why, one of many reasons why the Constitution was created. There's others to protect and defend our rights, freedoms, and American way of life. And the Liberal Democrats are fucking doing things against it. And by targeting the American people. And they think they're justified by doing it. They think they can get away with it. They think that nobody's going to be any other wiser. Yes, again, dumbasses. You fucking liberal democratic idiots. I am one of the wiser. I can tell I was able to research it carefully. I didn't have to read a damn thing. I just followed what I heard from the news. I followed from, it didn't really, nothing really calculated. And the more it didn't calculate, the more it seemed to be more than a political orchestrated bullshit farce. Way beyond that. But it was politically orchestrated by the Liberal Democratic Party. So yes, there's going to be a cough, sneeze, a bit of a sniffle. But it doesn't mean we have the virus. It doesn't mean that just because we cough near a person without covering our mouth, oh, we're going to get the virus like that. The coronavirus is more serious than that. And yet they want to orchestrate it as if it is a serious thing. When it's not. A cough and a sneeze, oh, well, here's some herbal tea with nothing in it, or even with honey in it. Clear it up like that. Here's some chicken soup broth, or chicken broth soup, essentially. Clear it up like that. So therefore, there's no coronavirus. The American people are worrying over shit that the liberal democratic idiots orchestrated. Because they are so fucking fearful of losing the 2020 election that they'll come up with anything and target the American people. Which, guess what? If they were really for and about the American people, they wouldn't target the American people now, would they? But obviously, the American people don't give a damn about the American people. I mean, the American people don't give a damn about politics in their own right, granted, yes, but the Liberal Democrats are targeting you American people because they don't give a damn about you anymore. I care about you American people. The American people don't care about politics. Yeah, that's 100% understandable, and I support that. That's what I meant by that first part of what I said earlier, about a minute ago now. But the basic fact is, the liberal Democrats are not supposed to be targeting the American people, and just so they can mentally manipulate the American people, just to slide their fucking way into in the White House, in the Oval Office. You are demeaning the very seats and positions you are in, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of your liberal Democratic idiots. You are not to go against and target negatively the American people, the very people that you are supposed to keep safe and protect and benefit. You are not benefiting the American people by targeting them on a bullshit thing just so you can mentally manipulate your way into the White House, you fucking idiot Nancy Pelosi. The basic fact is why I'm yelling like this, American people, is because I believe that the liberal Democrats are showing more than uncaring aspects and more than sinful aspects, unbecoming of anybody in any political office is supposed to do. No political idiot are supposed to fucking target the American people just so their party can get into the White House by the base of even mental manipulation and fucking fear of a so-called pandemic. I say it with love and care. I care about the American people. I've always cared about the American people, and I always will care about the American people. And I care about our youth, and I want our youth to have the best education that this country can ever muster. And it can be better than it is even now for our youth's education. So, and there's a lot more to it though, as well. But the basic fact is, at current, this is a political fucking mental manipulation orchestrated by the liberal Democrats by trying to keep the media filled with things that are a load of shit by feeding the American people just over one little cough and sneeze. Oh, you got the coronavirus. You don't. Like I said, if you are worried about the coronavirus and you cough and sneeze on various occasions, eat some chicken soup or chicken broth soup. Drink some herbal tea with no sugar and no honey, or a little, or at least a little honey, however, or whichever essential. Guaranteed, cleared up. Like an old, it's known as an old home remedy. The coronavirus would be way worse than what they think, and the coronavirus would be something, shall we say, internal. This is more what the way they're putting it is external, just so they can mentally manipulate you American people, just so they can get into the White House in one way or another. The liberal Democrats have stooped to the lowest of the low at current. They may try to stoop even lower over time. They may try to stoop even lower over time. But this is the lowest of the low that liberal, idiot, Democratic idiots known as Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of their fucking constituents within the same Democratic Party have ever gone in targeting the American people, the very people that are supposed to benefit, the very people that are supposed to keep safe and protected, and many other positive things. Yet the liberal Democrats have targeted them into the points to where they can mentally manipulate the American people, just so the liberal Democrats have an easier chance of getting into the White House, just so they can orchestrate their agenda of turning this country socialist, and which basically would go in the same aspect of the Hitler regime, as I mentioned before on one of my other advocate videos. And yet Hitler regime, had concentration camps for those who did not abide by the Hitler laws and rule of law, in such a way that there was many people who did not make it out of there even after WW2 was done and after Hitler was taken out of power. That's the base of socialism right there. You know that. And get this, here's the other base of socialism. The Liberal Democratic Party idiots can easily change their minds of what is law and what is not, even after they write their own version of the Constitution, after tearing up the current. They're so, you could say it's gone beyond the aspect of desperation, that they are so fearful of losing the 2020 election that they will come up with this bullshit pandemic known as the coronavirus, just to mentally manipulate you American people. And I do mean this one without a doubt. And there's no hesitative thing. There's no nothing. This, I have totally thought it through. And I know the Liberal Democratic Party voters might call me crazy. They might think I should be committed. But guess what, though? I don't care. You want to go into that aspect of sin and judgment when you don't even know me? Have fun in the pits of hell when your life is done on this planet. Those who have an interest of true understanding of what I'm saying, why, and without judging, you know that the aspect of a cough and a sneeze and a sniffle doesn't mean you have the coronavirus. Even before the coronavirus, so-called, came into fruition, orchestrated by the Liberal Democrats again, everybody had a cough and a sneeze and a sniffle, and were able to go out and about and do the thing that they wanted to do or needed to do, like when it came to education, like for the university, or when they needed to get to work via city transit or whatnot, right? Or even taxis for that matter, or even buses or trains. The Liberal Democrats have done this in the points of mental manipulation, in the points of a fear/pandemic. Just so they can mentally manipulate the American people to vote for the Democrats, so the Democrats can slither their way in to the fucking White House. The White House, the White House is a positive part of this country that has gone through hell of its own in its history. in this country's history especially. Do we want to put it through more by having sinful idiots known as the Socialist Democratic Party grabbing the goldenrod known as the White House just so they can have money, power, and more corruption? And orchestrating their agenda and turning this country socialist, which is totally against what the forefathers put together for us American people, and the positive beneficial aspects for us American people. The liberal Democrats want to destroy that in such a way that they will do anything and everything that they think they can come up with and try to muster and try to fucking get away with. And they think that the American people are so fucking brain dead that they'll believe anything. Even when it comes to the particular coronavirus. There's no coronavirus. There has not been any coronavirus. There will never be a coronavirus. And then because the coronavirus does not consist of a sneeze, a sniffle, congestion of the nose, a simple cough on occasion. That can be solved like that by drinking some herbal tea with lemon or with honey or with nothing in it. Chicken broth soup or chicken noodle soup, the old home remedies. Keeping yourself warm late at night or early in the morning by keeping yourself warm even in the rain. But not overly warm, granted. American people, this is 100% an actual farce. A phony baloney orchestrated by the Liberal Democratic Party in just such a way that they think that they can mental manipulate you American people to believe their shit just so they can have you believe even more shit, just so they can slither their way into the White House and have you believe every bit of thing that they want you to believe, that they think that they can get away with. And yet, Trump is doing everything positive to make sure that there's no coronavirus. Trump is the only logical one in this whole thing. The liberal Democrats are the ones that are sinful and hateful towards the American people. Therefore, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Liberal Democratic Party will most surely go into the pits of hell once their time is up on this planet for committing such of a fucking sinful act against innocent people just for their own selfish bullshit benefit. As I said, Nancy Pelosi, you don't like this country, you don't like the American people, you don't want to help benefit the American people, then get the fuck out of the United States of America. Chuck Schumer, you do the same. And the rest of the Democratic idiots that don't like this country and are following the same bullshit of Nancy Pelosi's little bullshit and orchestrated crap, sinful actions, get the fuck out of the country. We American people deserve honesty, truth, respect, every positive emotion that there is, even in the spiritual aspect. We don't deserve to be attacked Because just so you can mentally manipulate your way into the fucking White House. You fucking idiot Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi and you fucking idiot constituents within the Socialist Democratic Party. That is the truth. Now, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of your liberal Democratic constituents have only still 48 hours to come clean and to announce that there is no coronavirus, or you will be investigated to the letter of the law in accordance to the Constitution by the Supreme Court, and if at all the FBI, and also the Trump administration. And you are already found out by me, and thereby you, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and the ones that are following your bullshit by targeting the American people on such of a bullshit mental manipulative action towards and against the American people negatively, you will most certainly go into the pits of hell. For saith I say this in the name of our Savior Jesus Christ to be true, and not placed as a judgment at all. For I will not judge the fact of what I know to be an actuality. So again, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the rest of your constituents only have 48 hours to come clean and admit your bullshit. Your mentally manipulative, targeting the American people bullshit. Just so you have an easy way to get into the fucking White House by mentally manipulating the American people. Which is a very sinful action, and you know it. If you are at all a churchgoer at all, Nancy Pelosi, or any one of your constituents are churchgoers and Heavenly Father believers and are Jesus Christ believers and followers, then you know this to be true. So if you don't, and you're one of your constituents do admit it is a bullshit thing, then only they will not go to the pits of hell. Those who don't admit it will most certainly go into the pits of hell. For I say this in the name of our Savior Jesus Christ, in the aspect of what it even stipulates in this book, being the Bible. You have 48 hours, Nancy Pelosi. This is not a threat. This is a promise. A spiritual, very strong spiritual promise. If you and your fucking constituents within the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi, do not admit it's a bullshit mental manipulative target towards the American people, and it's a bullshit thing that and with the fact that there's no actual coronavirus. And if you don't admit that before the 48 hours are up, then guess what? The Supreme Court will be added into it. The Trump administration will be investigating it. The FBI and CIA will investigate it in accordance to the Constitution and its laws, in protection of and for the American people and our youth within the United States of America. And for the Democratic Party will be torn apart, piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, which means every one of the Liberal Democratic Party idiots that are in office, even at current, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what seat, you will be taken out. and never to be serving the country in any political genre or aspect or level at all. Thereby, for even orchestrating such of a bullshit, mental manipulative, sinful action, the Liberal Democratic Party, human beings, if you really want to call them that, will most certainly be waiting for them to go into the pits of hell when their time is up on the planet. So, American people, trust me to know that there is no coronavirus. It is a mental manipulation orchestrated by the Liberal Socialist Democratic Party, starting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. It is a mentally, carefully orchestrated one at that. But yet they're still carrying it on even now. So again, they better take me seriously. Because I know it is not there's no coronavirus. There's no there's no pandemic in the sense of harming or killing anybody off. In which basically that's what the liberal Democrats want you to believe, that they're gradually killing people off with this bullshit. And yet those same people that they target by saying that they're dead when they could easily be alive and well. They're doing it in such a way that it's known as psychological manipulation, mental manipulation. They're doing it. The liberal Democratic idiots are orchestrating in such a careful, unnoticeable way to you American people, guaranteed, that they will have you believe such of a load of shit that they will try to get you to be convinced to get them in to the White House, just so they can get into their other aspect of their agenda by turning this country socialist, in which basically would be another repeat of the Hitler regime, but in the 21st or 22nd century version of within the so-called internet age of the fast-paced of this society, of the current society to start with, anyway. And just so they can get their way and to where they can manipulate us more and control us more, and by taking our rights and freedoms away and by ripping apart the current constitution and rewriting their own constitution to where we would have to follow it, and to where there'd be also a bigger aspect of a government which is against this constitution that we have even at current. That's a definite right there. That's what the fucking liberal Democrats are doing. That's what they orchestrated. That's why they orchestrated this bullshit pandemic of known as a coronavirus. It's a sinful action done by the liberal Democrats, starting with Nancy Pelosi. It's a sinful action that they will pay for with their souls and whole entire being. And I know this to be true. So Nancy Pelosi only has 48 hours. Chuck Schumer, 48 hours. The rest of the Liberal Democratic Socialist Party has only 48 hours to admit their bullshit, to admit that there's no coronavirus, to admit that they fucking did this, to get their way into the White House, and to actually admit that they will admit defeat when Trump wins the 2020 election, and that they will accept defeat in the 2020 election, and that they will not come up with any bullshit to target and mentally manipulate the American people ever again, because if they do, they will most certainly, without question, even from this point, that the Liberal Democrats in each office, even across the United States, will go into the pits of hell. Each political Democratic Party politician constituent will go into the pits of hell. That's including Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and those who are following and going along with this bullshit. This is C.R.P.H.A, Humanitarian Advocate. God bless the American people and God bless the United States of America. And we salute our troops and our veterans and those that are still, and even those that are still currently in action and service to and for our country and our safety. And those who have not made it back home, even during WW1 and 2. We thank you for your service. And I'm saying this whole thing in defense of Old Glory, in defense and protection of Old Glory and the United States of America and the American people and our youth. Trust me, American people, the Liberal Democrats have gone to the lowest of the low sinfully in the sense of mental manipulation towards and against the American people. For they will pay with their souls in accordance to the Bible. For they will pay with their every being in accordance to the Bible. So Nancy Pelosi still has 48 hours to admit their bullshit. So does Chuck Schumer and the rest of their constituents. Or I ask that the Supreme Court investigate it, along with the Trump administration. Investigate it. And you will find it's a load of shit. It was a mentally manipulative action put forth by the Liberal Socialist Democratic idiots, starting with Nancy Pelosi. Have a good day.